The night air settles gently over the Nile. The river moves slowly through the darkness, carrying reflections of distant stars across quiet water. Along its banks, mud brick homes rest beneath the fading warmth of the day. Palm trees stand motionless. The last cooking fires glow softly in village courtyards. Somewhere far away, a dog barks once and then falls silent again. Most people are asleep. Fathers rest after long hours in the fields. Mothers sleep beside children wrapped in simple linen. Workers who spent the day carrying stone, shaping wood, grinding grain, or hauling water finally close their tired eyes. The world feels still. And in that stillness, it becomes easier to imagine another life. A life lived thousands of years ago. A life that began very differently from the childhood many people imagine today. Because in ancient Egypt, childhood was often measured less by age and more by discipline. A child was not simply someone who had reached a certain number of years. A child was someone who had not yet learned responsibility. The moment responsibility appeared, childhood slowly faded away. And so tonight, as the Nile drifts quietly beneath the stars, we will walk into that ancient world. Not into the palaces of kings. Not into great temples covered in gold. But into ordinary homes. Into dusty villages. Into workshops filled with tired workers. Into farms where the first light of morning determined the rhythm of life. We will follow children as they grow. We will see what they ate. Where they slept. How they learned. How they worked. And how discipline shaped nearly every step of their journey into adulthood. The eastern horizon is still dark. Most of Egypt sleeps. But not for long. The day begins early here. Long before sunrise. Long before the heat arrives. Inside a small mud brick house, a mother opens her eyes. The room is dim. Only faint traces of moonlight slip through a narrow opening near the roof. The floor beneath her is hard-packed earth. Nearby, her children sleep close together. There are no separate bedrooms. No private spaces. Families live close to one another. The sounds of breathing fill the darkness. For a few moments everything remains quiet. Then movement begins. A father rises. A child stirs. Someone reaches for a clay lamp. Soon a tiny flame appears. Its soft glow spreads across the room. Another day is beginning. The children wake when everyone else wakes. There is little opportunity to remain asleep. Life moves according to work. The river waits for no one. The crops wait for no one. The animals wait for no one. Even very young children quickly become familiar with this rhythm. As the lamp flickers, a mother begins preparing the first meal of the day. Grain is ground. Water is carried. Bread dough is shaped. The smell of baking bread slowly fills the room. Outside, dawn approaches. The village begins to wake. Sandals scrape against stone. Doors open. Voices murmur softly. The first birds call from nearby trees. Children watch all of this from the moment they can remember. Daily life becomes their classroom. There are lessons everywhere. Not written lessons. Not formal lessons. But lessons carried through observation. A child watches a father repair a tool. A child watches a mother prepare food. A child watches older brothers and sisters perform tasks that seem difficult and important. Slowly, knowledge settles into place. Nobody announces the beginning of education. Education simply surrounds them. The idea of discipline appears early. Very early. Ancient Egyptian writings often speak about obedience, respect, Patience. Listening carefully. Following instructions. These qualities were highly valued. Many parents believed discipline prepared a child for survival. Life was demanding. Fields flooded and dried according to the rhythm of the Nile. Food required labor. Homes required maintenance. Animals required care. Everyone had responsibilities. A child who learned discipline early was considered better prepared for the future. The village itself reinforced these expectations. People lived close together. Neighbors observed one another. Families knew one another. Behavior was visible. Actions mattered. Children understood this long before they became adults. As morning light spreads across the landscape, workers begin moving toward fields. Some carry tools across their shoulders. Others guide animals. Dust rises beneath their feet. The air is cool now. Later it will become hot. Very hot. Children often accompany adults. The youngest may simply watch. Slightly older children begin helping. Perhaps they carry small baskets. Perhaps they gather reeds. Perhaps they scare birds away from growing crops. The work may seem simple, but it introduces responsibility. Each task matters. Each task contributes. And each task teaches patience. The Nile dominates everything. Its annual flooding creates life. Without it, much of Egypt would become silent desert. Children grow up understanding this relationship. They watch the river carefully. They see boats drifting across the water. They hear conversations about harvests and flood levels. The river becomes part of their earliest memories. Sometimes children sit quietly along the banks. They watch fishermen untangle nets. They watch merchants load goods. They watch sunlight dance across moving water. Even moments of rest contain lessons. Adults are always working nearby. And work itself becomes familiar. For many children, toys exist. Simple toys. Wooden animals. Balls made from cloth. Small dolls. Little objects shaped by caring hands. Yet play often exists alongside responsibility rather than apart from it. A child may spend part of the morning playing and another part assisting with household duties. The boundary between childhood and adulthood is not sharply defined. Instead, it gradually shifts. A little more responsibility one year. A little more the next. And then another. The process is slow. Like the movement of the Nile itself. Inside larger towns, the experience can be different but not entirely. Narrow streets fill with activity. Workshops open their doors. Potters shape clay. Carpenters smooth wood. Metal workers tend fires. Scribes prepare writing materials. Children observe these occupations constantly. Sometimes a child follows a parent's profession. Sometimes opportunities appear elsewhere. But wherever they go, discipline remains important. A workshop cannot function smoothly without attention. Mistakes waste time. Mistakes waste materials. And so children entering these environments learn to listen carefully. The smell of clay. The scent of sawdust. The heat of furnaces. The scratch of reeds on papyrus. These become familiar parts of daily life. A child grows surrounded by them. Learning happens gradually. Year after year. One task at a time. By midday, the sun climbs high. The heat settles heavily across the land. Fields shimmer beneath bright light. Workers pause whenever possible. Shade becomes precious. Children feel the heat just as adults do. Sweat gathers. Energy fades. The day slows. Meals are simple. Bread. Vegetables. Sometimes fish. Sometimes fruit. Food reflects the labor required to produce it. Nothing arrives easily. Children understand this from an early age. They watch grain become flour. They watch flour become bread. They watch bread disappear quickly after long hours of work. Every meal tells a story about effort. As afternoon drifts onward, tasks continue. Water must be carried. Animals fed. Tools repaired. Homes maintained. Children become participants in these routines. Not all at once. Not immediately. But steadily. Each season brings new expectations. A small child may fetch a container. An older child may manage an entire task independently. Responsibility grows like a plant nurtured over many years. Ancient Egyptian texts sometimes reveal the concerns of parents and teachers. They worried about laziness, about distraction, about carelessness. They praised diligence. They praised obedience. They praised effort. To modern ears, some of these teachings may sound strict. Yet within their world, discipline was viewed as protection. A disciplined person could work. A disciplined person could learn. A disciplined person could support a family. These ideas shaped childhood deeply. As evening approaches, shadows lengthen across the fields. The worst heat begins to fade. Workers return home. Dust clings to clothing. Bodies feel tired. Children walk alongside adults. The day's tasks are finished. Or at least mostly finished. The village becomes active once more. Cooking fires appear. Voices rise gently. Animals settle for the night. The smell of bread fills the air again. Inside homes, families gather. Stories are shared. Advice is given. Observations are made. Children listen. Sometimes they ask questions. Sometimes they simply absorb the rhythm of conversation. Knowledge passes quietly between generations. Not through formal lectures, but through daily life. A father may explain why a tool broke. A mother may describe how grain should be stored. An older sibling may demonstrate a skill learned that week. These small exchanges shape the future. One evening at a time. Darkness returns slowly. Stars emerge above the river. The air cools. The village grows quieter. Children settle onto sleeping mats. Some fall asleep immediately. Others listen to distant sounds drifting through the night. Water moving gently against the shore. Insects singing in the darkness. A faint voice somewhere beyond the house. Tomorrow will resemble today. And that predictability offers comfort. The rhythm rarely changes. The river rises. The river falls. Crops grow. Crops are harvested. Children learn. Children mature. Discipline guides the process. Not through sudden transformation, but through countless ordinary moments. A basket carried across a courtyard. A lesson remembered. A task completed without complaint. A responsibility accepted. These small moments matter. Together they form the measure of childhood. Not a birthday. Not a number. But the gradual growth of trust. And as the stars continue their slow journey above ancient Egypt, countless children sleep beneath the same sky. Some dream beside rivers. Some dream beside fields. Some dream within crowded towns. Each one moving quietly toward adulthood. each one learning that responsibility arrives little by little. Like dawn spreading across the Nile. Like water flowing through reeds. Like the gentle passage of time itself. And before the next sunrise arrives, another lesson already waits in the darkness, resting quietly beside the riverbanks where Egypt will awaken once again. The darkness remains for a little while longer. The village sleeps beneath a sky filled with stars. The Nile moves quietly through the night, its surface reflecting pale light from the moon. The water seems almost endless in the darkness. Gentle currents slide past reeds growing along the shore. Somewhere in the distance, a fisherman checks a boat tied securely to a wooden post before returning home to rest. Most children are still asleep. Their breathing rises and falls softly in the warm air. The earth beneath them still holds traces of the previous day's heat. Mud brick walls surround them, protecting them from the coolness that settles briefly before dawn. Nearby, clay jars stand against the walls. Baskets rest in corners. Tools wait silently for another day of labor. Soon enough, movement begins again. A mother wakes first. Then a father. Then older children. The same rhythm unfolds as it has for generations. No clock announces the hour. No bell rings. The world itself provides the signal. The air changes. The darkness softens. Birds begin their morning calls. And life slowly returns. For many children in ancient Egypt, each day feels connected to every day before it. The seasons shift. The river rises and falls. Yet daily routines remain familiar. This familiarity becomes one of childhood's greatest teachers. A child learns what is expected not because someone constantly explains it, but because the pattern repeats again and again. The same bread is prepared. The same paths are walked. The same fields require attention. The same tasks return. Through repetition comes understanding. Through understanding comes discipline. And through discipline comes trust. As the first pale light appears in the east, families prepare for another day. Bread dough is shaped. Water is poured. Simple meals are shared. Children watch carefully. Some are still very young. Others are already old enough to contribute meaningful work. Age matters less than ability. A capable child may receive responsibilities earlier than another. A trusted child may be treated differently than one who still requires close supervision. The transition is gradual. No clear line marks the moment. Instead, responsibility arrives piece by piece. Perhaps a child is trusted to watch younger siblings. Perhaps a child carries water independently. Perhaps a child accompanies adults into the fields without constant instruction. Each small responsibility becomes evidence of growth. As sunlight spreads across the land, workers begin moving toward their daily occupations. The village awakens fully. Doors open. Sandals strike stone paths. Voices drip through the morning air. The smell of baking bread mingles with dust and river moisture. Children step into this world naturally. There is little separation between their lives and the lives of adults. They witness work from the beginning. And because they witness it constantly, work rarely appears mysterious. The farmer's labor is visible. The potter's labor is visible. The fisherman's labor is visible. The baker's labor is visible. Every occupation leaves traces throughout the community. A child walking through the village sees evidence everywhere. Clay drying in the sun. Freshly cut reeds. Fishing nets spread across the ground. Bundles of grain waiting to be processed. Wood being shaped into useful objects. These sights become part of daily life. They quietly teach lessons about effort and patience. For many children, helping begins with observation. Observation may not seem important at first. Yet in ancient Egypt, watching carefully often comes before doing. A child studies movements. A child notices techniques. A child remembers instructions. These observations accumulate over years. One day, a task that once seemed complicated suddenly feels familiar. Not because it was formally taught in a single lesson, but because it has been witnessed hundreds of times. This process unfolds naturally, like the changing seasons, like the slow movement of water. As morning progresses, fields fill with activity. The Nile has blessed this land with fertile soil. Dark earth stretches across cultivated areas near the river. Workers move steadily beneath the growing sun. Children accompany them. Some gather scattered materials. Some carry small loads. Some simply remain nearby, learning through presence. The work can be tiring. Even the simplest tasks require effort. The soil clings to feet. The sun grows stronger. Dust settles on skin. Yet these experiences become part of growing up. Many children spend countless hours outdoors. They learn the feel of earth beneath their sandals. They learn how changing weather affects crops. They learn how carefully water must be managed. Knowledge develops through direct experience. Every season teaches something new. Flood season brings one set of lessons. Planting season brings another. Harvest season offers still more. The landscape itself becomes a teacher. The Nile teaches patience. The fields teach responsibility. The sun teaches endurance. As the day warms, children also learn about limits. Bodies become tired. Mistakes happen. Tasks require concentration. Discipline is not only about obedience. It is also about persistence. Continuing despite discomfort. Finishing despite fatigue. Trying again after failure. Ancient parents valued these qualities. Life often demanded them. In larger households, children may share duties among siblings. Older brothers and sisters frequently become teachers themselves. They demonstrate techniques. They correct mistakes. They pass along knowledge they once received. This creates a chain of learning stretching across generations. A younger child watches an older sibling. That younger child eventually becomes the older sibling being watched. The cycle continues. Quietly. Naturally. Year after year. Meanwhile, within towns and cities, another kind of childhood unfolds. The streets are busier. The sounds are different. Merchants open stalls. Craftsmen begin their work. Donkeys carry goods through crowded spaces. The air fills with conversation. Children growing up in these places experience a different environment, yet many expectations remain the same. Responsibility is still important. Discipline is still admired. Learning still happens through participation. A child whose family works as potters may spend years surrounded by clay. Hands become familiar with its texture. Eyes learn to recognize quality. Movements become increasingly precise. The workshop itself becomes a classroom. The same is true for carpenters, metal workers, weavers, boat builders. Each occupation possesses rhythms and routines. Children absorb those rhythms gradually. One day they are observers. Later they become helpers. Eventually they become workers themselves. Some children follow a different path. The path of literacy. For these children, discipline takes another form. Learning to become a scribe requires patience unlike almost any other occupation. Writing is valuable. Records matter. Administration matters. Communication matters. The ability to read and write opens opportunities unavailable to many others. Yet the training can be demanding. A young student sits carefully. A reed pen rests in hand. Papyrus lies nearby. Symbols must be memorized. Forms must be copied. Mistakes must be corrected. Again and again. The process requires concentration. Hours pass slowly. The hand grows tired. The mind grows tired. Yet persistence remains essential. Ancient writings created by scribes often praise discipline directly. Some texts encourage students to work hard. Others warn against laziness. Teachers expected attention. Students were expected to listen carefully. The relationship between learning and discipline appears repeatedly. Not because childhood was joyless, but because success was believed to depend upon effort. Outside the schools, life continues. The sun climbs higher. Heat spreads across roads and rooftops. Shade becomes increasingly valuable. People move more slowly. Children feel the same exhaustion as adults. The midday hours can seem endless. Air shimmers above the ground. Animals seek shelter. Workers pause when possible. Meals provide brief moments of rest. Bread remains central. Simple foods sustain families through long days. Water offers relief. Conversations become quieter beneath the weight of the afternoon heat. For a little while, the pace softens. Yet eventually work resumes. Tasks remain unfinished. Responsibilities wait. The ancient world rarely pauses completely. As afternoon drifts onward, children continue learning lessons that are seldom written down. They learn how adults behave during difficult moments. They learn how disagreements are handled. They learn the value of cooperation. Communities depend upon people working together. No family exists entirely alone. Neighbors assist one another. Tools are shared. Knowledge is shared. Labor is sometimes shared. Children witness these relationships constantly. They learn that responsibility extends beyond themselves. It reaches outward into family and community. This understanding becomes another measure of maturity. Not simply what a person can do, but how a person contributes. Toward evening, shadows begin stretching across the landscape. The harshest heat slowly retreats. A breeze occasionally moves through the reeds near the river. Workers turn toward home. The day has been long. Feet ache. Muscles ache. Hands show evidence of labor. Children return alongside adults. Dust covers sandals. Faces shine with sweat. Yet there is relief in the cooling air. Relief in knowing the hardest hours have passed. The village gradually fills with returning families. Cooking fires appear once more. Smoke drifts upward. Voices mingle softly. Animals settle into familiar places. The smell of fresh bread spreads through narrow pathways. Inside homes, evening routines begin. These moments often provide some of the most important lessons of childhood. Not formal lessons. Not assigned tasks. But lessons carried through conversation and observation. Families speak about the day. Work completed. Work remaining. Problems solved. Mistakes made. Children listen closely. Even when they appear distracted, they are learning. Stories shared around evening meals often contain guidance hidden within them. A tale about a careless worker. A story about an honest merchant. A memory of someone respected within the community. These stories shape expectations. They reveal which qualities are admired, which behaviors are discouraged, which paths are considered wise. The teaching feels natural. It slips quietly into everyday life. Darkness arrives again. Stars emerge above Egypt. The river reflects their distant light. The air grows cooler. Fatigue settles across the village. Children begin preparing for sleep. The day's labor has drained their energy. Even those who spent fewer hours working have walked long distances, endured heat, and participated in countless small responsibilities. The body welcomes rest. Inside mud brick homes, families settle down together. The sounds of the village fade gradually. One household falls silent. Then another. Then another. Until only scattered noises remain. The Nile continues moving through the darkness. Its waters flow past sleeping villages, past farms, past temples, past towns illuminated by occasional lamps. Generation after generation has fallen asleep beside this river. Children who once carried tiny baskets eventually carried larger ones. Children who once followed instructions eventually gave instructions. The passage from childhood to adulthood unfolded slowly. Not measured primarily by years, but by responsibility accepted, trust earned, discipline practiced. And as another quiet night settles over ancient Egypt, countless young lives continue moving gently along that path, guided by the same river, the same routines, and the same patient lessons carried forward beneath the stars. The Nile flows through the darkness as it always has. Its waters move quietly beneath a sky scattered with stars. Along the riverbanks, reeds sway gently in the faint night breeze. Palm leaves whisper softly above sleeping villages. The heat of the day has finally loosened its grip, and for a few precious hours the air feels lighter. Most homes are silent now. Inside walls made from sun-dried mud brick, families rest together. Children sleep beside parents, siblings, grandparents, and relatives. The rooms are simple. Clay jars line the walls. Baskets rest in corners. A few carefully treasured possessions remain tucked safely away until morning. The world feels peaceful. Yet even while the village sleeps, tomorrow is already approaching. The first birds will soon begin calling. The eastern sky will brighten. Another day of labor will begin. And for the children of ancient Egypt, another day of learning will quietly unfold. Childhood in this world is rarely separated from work. That does not mean every moment is difficult. There are moments of laughter, moments of friendship, moments of play beneath the shade of trees. But these moments exist within a larger rhythm of responsibility. A child grows up knowing that every person contributes something. Every member of the household has a role. Even small hands can help. Even young minds can learn. As the night slowly passes, let us imagine a boy sleeping near the edge of a farming village. His family has lived beside the Nile for generations. His father works the fields. His mother manages the home and helps wherever needed. His older sister already carries many responsibilities. His younger brother still follows others more than he leads. The boy himself stands somewhere between these stages. Old enough to help. Young enough to continue learning. His childhood is measured not by celebrations marking age but by growing expectations. Each year brings new trust. Each season brings new duties. When dawn arrives, he wakes before the sun fully rises. The room is dim. Only faint light filters through the opening near the roof. He hears movement around him. Someone is grinding grain. Someone is preparing water. Someone is already speaking quietly about the work ahead. The day has begun. He sits up. The floor feels cool beneath his feet. Outside, the village is stirring. A few cooking fires already glow against the fading darkness. The smell of bread drifts through the air. Roosters call. Donkeys shift impatiently. The Nile reflects the first hints of morning. The boy does not ask whether he must help. Helping is simply part of life. Responsibility arrives naturally. No one announces it. No one explains it every day. The expectation exists quietly beneath everything. As familiar as the river itself. After a simple meal, he follows his family toward the fields. The sky brightens steadily. Gold and pink colors spread across the horizon. For a brief moment, before the heat arrives, the land feels gentle. The air carries moisture from the river. Birds glide above the water. Farmers walk along dusty paths. Children move among them. Some carry tools. Some carry baskets. Some walk empty-handed but attentive, ready to assist when needed. The boy listens carefully. Adults talk while they walk. They discuss crops, water levels, weather, tools needing repair. The conversation itself becomes a lesson. Children absorb information even when nobody speaks directly to them. Knowledge enters gradually. A little today. A little tomorrow. A little more next season. Years pass this way. By the time adulthood arrives, countless lessons have accumulated. The fields stretch outward beneath the growing sunlight. Dark fertile soil contrasts against the pale desert beyond. This narrow ribbon of life depends entirely upon the Nile. Everyone understands this. Children understand it too. The river's flood determines abundance. The river's flood determines hardship. The river's behavior shapes the entire year. A child learns these truths long before learning to explain them. He simply sees their effects everywhere. In conversations. In work schedules. In harvest celebrations. In worries spoken quietly by adults. As the morning progresses, tasks begin. Some are repetitive. Some are physically demanding. Others require patience more than strength. The boy carries bundles from one place to another. Nothing especially dramatic happens. The work is ordinary. And that is exactly why it matters. Ancient childhood is built from ordinary moments. Not grand achievements. Not famous events. But daily habits practiced over and over again. Responsibility grows through repetition. A task completed once proves little. A task completed every day builds trust. Adults notice consistency. They notice reliability. A child who can be trusted becomes increasingly valuable to the household. This trust is one of the great rewards of discipline. Not praise. Not gifts. Trust. The freedom to handle important responsibilities. The confidence of parents. The respect of older workers. As the sun climbs higher, the heat slowly increases. The coolness of dawn disappears. Dust clings to sandals. Sweat forms across foreheads. The day's harder hours begin. Children experience this discomfort alongside adults. They learn that labor continues even when conditions become unpleasant. The lesson is not spoken aloud. It is lived. Hour after hour. Season after season. Some children resist. Some complain. Some become distracted. Adults are well aware of this. Ancient texts often reveal concerns about youthful carelessness. Teachers complain about students. Parents worry about laziness. Supervisors criticize inattention. These concerns sound familiar even thousands of years later. Children remain children. Curiosity pulls their attention elsewhere. Interesting sights interrupt concentration. Friends create distractions. Yet discipline means returning focus to the task. Again and again. The process takes years. Nobody masters it immediately. The sun reaches its highest point. The village and fields settle into the heavy stillness of midday. Heat presses down from above. Even the air seems tired. Workers search for shade whenever possible. Children welcome every opportunity to rest. Meals are shared quietly. Bread remains central. Perhaps there are onions. Perhaps dates. Perhaps fish caught earlier from the river. Simple foods sustain the body. Nothing extravagant. Nothing wasted. Every bite represents labor already completed. The boy sits beside older workers. He listens more than he speaks. Adults discuss practical matters. Repairing tools. Preparing storage areas. Managing crops. Planning future tasks. The conversations reveal how much responsibility adulthood carries. Children hear these discussions long before they fully understand them. The words settle into memory. Years later, those same discussions will become their own. The afternoon arrives. The heat lingers. Work resumes. The rhythm continues. In ancient Egypt, patience is often more valuable than speed. Fields cannot be rushed. Plants cannot be rushed. Floods cannot be rushed. Even learning cannot be rushed. Everything unfolds according to its own pace. Children grow within this understanding. Gradually. Steadily. Like crops reaching maturity beneath the sun. Far away, in a larger town, another child experiences a different day. She lives among crowded streets instead of open fields. The sounds surrounding her are different. Merchants call out from stalls. Craftsmen work inside busy workshops. Animals move through narrow roads carrying goods. The air smells of clay, wood, smoke, and baking bread. Her responsibilities are different too. Yet discipline remains equally important. She helps within her family's trade. Perhaps weaving. Perhaps pottery. Perhaps textile work. Her hands learn skills through repetition. The same movements practiced again and again. Threads woven carefully. Materials organized properly. Tools maintained correctly. The work requires attention. Mistakes waste valuable resources. Patience becomes essential. She learns not through lengthy explanations but through observation and participation. Adults demonstrate. Children imitate. Correction follows. Improvement follows. The process continues. The workshop becomes its own kind of school. Hours pass beneath warm light filtering through doorways. Dust floats through the air. Voices rise and fall. The sounds of labor create a steady rhythm. Children absorb that rhythm. It shapes their understanding of responsibility. As evening approaches, activity gradually slows. The harsh brightness of afternoon begins to soften. Long shadows stretch across roads and courtyards. The heat finally starts releasing its hold. People return home. Children return with them. Feet are tired. Arms are tired. Minds are tired. Yet there is comfort in the routine. Comfort in familiar faces. Comfort in knowing the day's work has been completed. Cooking fires appear throughout the settlement. Smoke drifts lazily into the evening sky. The smell of fresh bread spreads once more. Families gather together. Meals are shared. Stories are exchanged. Children listen closely. These evening hours often contain some of the most meaningful lessons. Not lessons about farming. Not lessons about crafts. But lessons about character. Adults speak about honesty. About reliability. About patience. About respect. Sometimes directly. Sometimes through stories. Sometimes through observations about neighbors and friends. Children hear what qualities earn admiration. They hear what behaviors create problems. Values pass quietly between generations. One conversation at a time. As darkness returns, the pace slows further. The village grows quieter. The town grows quieter. Animals settle for the night. Workshops close. Markets empty. The sky fills with stars. Children lie down beside family members. Fatigue settles heavily over them. The body welcomes sleep. Yet before sleep arrives completely, some children remain awake for a few moments. Listening. Thinking. Watching shadows move across the room. Hearing distant sounds drifting through the night. The splash of water against a riverbank. A voice somewhere beyond the walls. The rustle of palm leaves in the breeze. The world feels large. Yet also familiar. Tomorrow will bring many of the same responsibilities. Many of the same lessons. Many of the same routines. And that predictability creates a sense of safety. A child knows where they belong. A child knows what is expected. A child understands their place within family and community. Responsibility grows from that understanding. Discipline grows from that understanding. Slowly. Patiently. Without hurry. Outside, the Nile continues its endless journey through the darkness. Its waters pass sleeping villages and crowded towns alike. Generation after generation has listened to these same currents. Children who once carried small baskets became adults carrying larger burdens. Children who once followed instructions eventually became the people giving them. The transition happened gradually. Not through sudden ceremonies. Not through numbers alone. But through trust earned day after day. And beneath the quiet stars of ancient Egypt, another night settles gently across the river, while countless children continue their slow journey toward adulthood, guided by discipline, routine, family, and the steady flow of the Nile. The Nile moves quietly beneath the stars. Its waters slip past sleeping villages, past silent fishing boats tied along muddy banks, past fields resting in darkness after a long day beneath the sun. The river never truly stops. Through every season, through every generation, it continues its slow journey northward. Along its shores, the people of Egypt sleep. The labor of the day has settled heavily into tired muscles. Farmers rest after hours in the fields. Potters sleep with traces of clay still beneath their fingernails. Bakers rest after rising long before dawn. Children sleep beside parents and siblings, their bodies recovering from another day spent learning the rhythm of life. The night is calm. A faint breeze moves through clusters of reeds. Palm trees stand against the sky like dark silhouettes. Far above, countless stars shine over the ancient land. And while the world seems still, childhood continues quietly even in sleep. Because every day in ancient Egypt adds another layer to a child's understanding of responsibility. The lessons are rarely dramatic. Most are almost invisible. A habit formed, A task remembered. A mistake corrected. A promise kept. Small moments gather together until they slowly shape a person. Long before sunrise, movement begins once more. A mother wakes. She sits quietly for a moment. The house remains dark. Everyone else still sleeps. The air feels cooler than it will a few hours from now. Soon enough, she begins preparing for the day. Grain must be ground. Water must be checked. Bread must be prepared. The household depends on these routines. Children often witness these tasks from a very young age. They see how much effort goes into maintaining even the simplest parts of life. Food does not simply appear. Water does not carry itself. Clothing does not repair itself. Every comfort requires labor. This understanding settles deeply into childhood. As dawn approaches, older children begin waking. The youngest often sleep a little longer. But eventually the entire household stirs. The room fills with movement. People sit up. Sandals are found. Voices remain soft. The day begins gently. Outside, faint colors spread across the eastern horizon. The darkness slowly gives way to light. The Nile catches the first glow of morning. For a brief time, before the heat arrives, the world feels fresh and peaceful. The village comes alive little by little. Doors open. Cooking fires are lit. Animals begin making noise. Neighbors greet one another. The smell of bread drifts through narrow pathways. Children step into this familiar world once again. Many know exactly what awaits them. The routines are deeply established. And there is comfort in routine. Children do not spend every day wondering what will happen next. Most days follow patterns they understand. Those patterns provide structure. And structure helps teach discipline. When expectations remain clear, responsibility becomes easier to learn. A child knows where to go. A child knows what tasks need attention. A child understands which behaviors are valued. These lessons repeat so often that they eventually become natural. In one household, a young girl helps her mother prepare food. She watches carefully. Her mother measures ingredients without written instructions. Years of experience guide every movement. Hands know what to do. The girl observes. At first she only watches. Later she helps. Eventually she performs many tasks herself. Knowledge passes quietly from one generation to the next. No ceremony marks the moment. No announcement is made. Responsibility simply grows. Elsewhere, a boy accompanies his father toward the river. The air smells of water and wet reeds. Small boats rest along the shore. Fishermen prepare nets. The river glows beneath the morning sky. The boy has visited this place countless times. Each visit teaches something new. Not through formal lessons, but through experience. He learns how nets are repaired. He learns how boats are maintained. He learns how weather affects the river. The knowledge arrives gradually. One observation at a time. One season at a time. 1 year at a time. The process cannot be rushed. Patience is part of learning. Patience is part of discipline. Throughout Egypt, childhood often unfolds this way. Children grow by participating, watching, helping, remembering, trying, failing, trying again. Adults expect mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. Yet adults also expect effort. A child who works hard earns trust. A child who listens carefully earns respect. These values appear repeatedly throughout ancient Egyptian life. Not because people were unusually strict, but because daily survival depended upon cooperation and reliability. A household functions best when everyone contributes. The expectation touches nearly every part of life. As morning advances, villages and towns become busier. The sounds of work spread through the air. Stone tools strike wood. Potters shape clay. Weavers move thread across looms. Farmers guide animals through fields. Merchants organize goods for sale. Children move among them. Some carry supplies. Some run errands. Some observe quietly from nearby. The entire community becomes a classroom. Every occupation offers lessons. A child living near potters learns about clay. A child living near fishermen learns about water. A child living near scribes learns about writing. The environment shapes the education. And wherever children go, discipline follows closely behind. Even play reflects this world. Children certainly find moments to enjoy themselves. They race one another through open spaces. They invent games. They laugh together. They explore riverbanks and dusty roads. But play often exists between responsibilities rather than replacing them. A child may spend an hour playing and the next hour helping with household tasks. The two experiences live side by side. Neither completely separate from the other. As the sun climbs higher, shadows shrink. The heat begins its daily rise. Dust hangs in the air. Workers wipe sweat from their faces. Children feel the change as well. Energy slowly fades beneath the heavy sun. These conditions teach another important lesson. Endurance. Ancient Egypt can be beautiful. The river sparkles. Palm trees sway. Fields flourish. Yet life here is also physically demanding. The heat is constant. Labor is unavoidable. A child learns how to continue despite discomfort. Not because anyone enjoys suffering, but because responsibilities remain. The crops still need attention. The water still needs carrying. The tools still need repairing. Work continues. The lesson becomes part of daily life. At midday, activity slows. People search for shade. Animals rest. The landscape seems to pause beneath the weight of the afternoon sun. Meals are shared. Water is welcomed. Conversation grows quieter. Children sit beside adults. They listen. Listening itself is often considered a valuable skill. Many ancient teachings emphasize careful attention. The ability to listen before speaking. The ability to learn before acting. Children hear these values repeated in different ways throughout their lives. Not always directly. Sometimes through stories. Sometimes through examples. Sometimes through simple observation. An older worker who remains dependable earns respect. A careless worker may become the subject of quiet criticism. Children notice these patterns. They learn what behavior leads to trust. The afternoon eventually stretches onward. The heat remains. Work resumes. And another layer of experience settles into childhood. Perhaps a task goes well. Perhaps a mistake occurs. Perhaps a child forgets an instruction. Perhaps a child succeeds independently for the first time. These moments matter. They shape confidence. They shape character. They influence how adults view a child's readiness for greater responsibility. Trust is never granted all at once. It grows steadily. A parent may first trust a child with a simple task. Then something slightly more important. Then something more significant. Each success opens the door to further responsibility. This gradual process defines much of childhood. The years themselves matter less than the evidence of maturity. Can the child be relied upon? Can the child complete tasks properly? Can the child contribute to family life? These questions often matter more than age alone. As evening approaches, relief arrives with cooler air. Long shadows stretch across fields and roads. The bright intensity of the day softens. Workers begin returning home. The village changes mood. Activity remains, but it becomes gentler. Cooking fires appear. Smoke drifts upward. Children help prepare evening meals. The smell of bread once again fills the air. Families gather together. The workday slowly comes to an end. These evening hours possess a special atmosphere. The hardest labor is finished. The heat is fading. People have time to speak with one another. Stories emerge. Memories are shared. Advice passes quietly between generations. Children sit nearby. Sometimes they participate. Sometimes they simply listen. Either way, they learn. A grandfather recalls a difficult flood season. A mother explains why patience matters. A father describes a mistake made years ago. These stories carry lessons more memorable than direct instruction. They remain in a child's mind long afterward. Night returns. Stars appear above the Nile. The river reflects their light. The sounds of the village grow softer. One by one, homes become quiet. Families settle down to sleep. Children close their eyes. Tomorrow will bring another day remarkably similar to this one. Another dawn. Another meal. Another task. Another lesson. And within that repetition, childhood continues its slow transformation. Responsibility deepens. Trust expands. Discipline becomes more natural. The process happens so gradually that few notice it while it is occurring. Only years later does the change become clear. The child who once followed others now leads. The child who once learned now teaches. The child who once carried small burdens now carries larger ones. Outside, the Nile continues flowing through the darkness. Patient. Steady. Unhurried. Much like childhood itself in the ancient world. And beneath the endless stars of Egypt, another quiet night settles over the riverbanks, while families rest and a new generation slowly grows into the responsibilities waiting just beyond tomorrow's dawn. The stars remain above the Nile long after the villages have fallen silent. Their reflections tremble softly across the surface of the river. Gentle currents carry the light downstream, breaking and reforming it again and again. Along the banks, reeds bend slightly in the night breeze. Palm trees stand quietly against the sky, their shadows stretching across the sleeping earth. The air feels peaceful now. Cooler than it will be in only a few hours. For a brief part of the night, the land seems to rest. Even the animals are still. Inside mud-brick homes, families sleep close together. Children lie beside parents, brothers, sisters, and grandparents. Some dream deeply after a long day of work and learning. Others stir occasionally as distant sounds drift through the darkness. The splash of water. The rustle of leaves. The faint bark of a dog somewhere far away. The ancient world breathes slowly beneath the stars. And while the night feels calm, childhood continues its quiet journey forward. Every day brings change. Not dramatic change. Not sudden transformation. But the small, steady kind that often goes unnoticed. A child who struggled with a task last month may complete it confidently today. A child who once required guidance may begin acting independently. A child who once listened quietly may now help teach younger siblings. Responsibility grows this way. One ordinary day after another. Eventually the eastern horizon begins to lighten. The stars fade. The river takes on shades of silver and pale blue. The night gives way to morning. Once again, ancient Egypt begins to wake. The first sounds emerge gradually. A door opens. A basket is lifted. Footsteps cross a courtyard. Smoke rises from cooking fires. The smell of fresh bread drifts into the cool air. Children wake as these familiar sounds surround them. The routine is comforting. The routine is expected. The routine is life itself. In many households, one of the earliest lessons concerns attentiveness. Adults notice children who pay attention. A child who remembers instructions without constant reminders earns trust. A child who notices small details becomes useful. Whether in the fields, workshops, kitchens, or markets, careful observation matters. The ancient world rewards attentiveness. Mistakes can waste food, damage tools, spoil materials, create extra labor. For this reason, children are encouraged to watch carefully, to listen carefully, to think before acting. These lessons begin very early, sometimes without a single word being spoken. Imagine a young girl sitting beside her mother as bread is prepared. The process appears simple. Yet every movement contains knowledge. How much grain should be used? How long the dough should rest? How the fire should be managed? The girl watches. Day after day. Month after month. What first appears mysterious slowly becomes familiar. One morning she is allowed to help. A little later she is trusted with more. Years pass. Eventually she performs the entire task herself. This is how much learning happens. Quietly. Patiently. Without formal announcements. Elsewhere, a young boy walks through a crowded town with his older brother. The streets are already busy. Merchants arrange goods for sale. Craftsmen open workshops. Donkeys carry supplies through narrow roads. The smell of clay, wood smoke, and fresh bread fills the air. The older brother knows these streets well. The younger boy follows closely. As they move through the town, lessons appear everywhere. How to greet respected elders. How to carry goods properly. How to behave in busy public spaces. How to conduct oneself with dignity. These lessons may seem small. Yet they help shape adulthood. Ancient Egyptians valued self-control. Not perfect behavior. Not impossible standards. But the ability to act responsibly. To remain dependable. To fulfill obligations. Children hear these values repeatedly throughout their lives. Some lessons arrive through direct instruction. Others arrive through observation. Still others arrive through stories. Stories are powerful teachers. In the evenings, after work has ended, families often gather together. The hardest labor is complete. The heat has faded. Cooking fires provide warmth and light. Conversations unfold naturally. A grandparent recalls events from years ago. A parent shares advice. A neighbor describes something that happened during the day. Children listen. Sometimes the stories concern successful people, reliable workers, wise individuals, patient leaders. Sometimes the stories describe mistakes, carelessness, dishonesty, poor decisions. Both kinds of stories teach lessons. Children gradually learn which qualities earn respect. The process happens slowly, like water shaping stone. As the morning continues, the sun climbs higher. The comfortable coolness of dawn begins to disappear. The familiar heat of Egypt returns. Workers continue their tasks. Children continue learning alongside them. For some children, this means field work. For others, it means assisting within homes or workshops. For a few, it means studying writing. Each path requires discipline. Each path demands patience. A young student training to become a scribe faces challenges very different from those of a farmer's child. Hours may be spent copying symbols, practicing handwriting, memorizing signs, correcting errors. The work can feel repetitive, yet repetition itself is part of the lesson. Ancient teachers often believed that skill emerged through practice. Again and again, day after day. Steady effort mattered more than sudden brilliance. The same principle appears throughout Egyptian life. A farmer does not produce a harvest through a single day of work. A builder does not complete a structure in an afternoon. A craftsperson does not master a trade overnight. Patience sits at the center of nearly everything. Children absorb this understanding naturally because they witness it everywhere around them. As midday approaches, activity begins slowing. The heat grows intense. Shadows shorten. The earth radiates warmth. People search for relief beneath trees, awnings, and walls. Children welcome these moments of rest. The body grows tired. The mind grows tired. Even conversation becomes quieter beneath the heavy sun. Meals provide comfort. Bread remains the foundation of daily life. Simple foods are shared among family members. Water refreshes dry throats. For a short time, the pace eases. Yet even during rest, learning continues. Children observe how adults respond to difficulty. How they handle setbacks. How they solve problems. Perhaps a tool breaks. Perhaps supplies run short. Perhaps weather creates unexpected challenges. Children watch carefully. The responses matter. Patience is admired. Anger is less useful. Calm thinking often solves problems more effectively than frustration. These lessons become part of childhood as surely as any formal instruction. When the afternoon resumes, work continues. The heat remains, but responsibilities remain as well. Children learn another important truth. Life often requires effort even when enthusiasm is absent. Not every task is enjoyable. Some tasks are repetitive. Some are physically tiring. Some simply need to be done. Discipline means completing them anyway. This idea appears repeatedly throughout ancient teachings. The reliable person earns respect. The dependable person becomes valuable. The trustworthy person strengthens the household. As children mature, adults begin noticing these qualities more closely. An older child receives greater responsibilities. Perhaps they manage supplies. Perhaps they supervise younger siblings. Perhaps they travel independently to nearby locations. Each new responsibility represents confidence. Confidence earned through consistent behavior. Trust grows slowly. But once established, it changes how others see a person. The afternoon eventually softens into evening. The sunlight becomes golden. Long shadows stretch across the landscape. The air cools little by little. Relief spreads through villages and towns alike. Workers return home. Children walk beside them. The day has been long. Feet ache. Hands ache. Bodies feel heavy. Yet there is satisfaction in completed work. The village becomes lively once more. Cooking fires appear. Smoke drifts upward. Neighbors exchange greetings. Animals settle into familiar places. The smell of baking bread returns once again. It is one of the constant scents of Egyptian life. Warm. Comforting. Familiar. Inside homes, families gather for the evening meal. These moments create some of childhood's strongest memories. Not because extraordinary things happen, but because ordinary things happen repeatedly. The same voices. The same stories. The same faces. Night after night. Year after year. The rhythm creates belonging. A child understands where they fit within the family. What is expected of them. What responsibilities they carry. What future responsibilities await. Eventually darkness settles across the land. Stars appear above the river. The Nile glimmers beneath their light. One household falls silent. Then another. Then another. The sounds of daily life fade gradually. Children lie down to sleep. Their minds hold countless lessons gathered throughout the day. Most of those lessons do not feel important at the time. A reminder from a parent. A task completed correctly. A mistake corrected. A story heard during supper. Yet these small moments accumulate. Over years, they shape character. They shape habits. They shape adulthood itself. And so, beneath the quiet sky of ancient Egypt, childhood continues. Not measured by numbers written on a calendar. Not marked by distant milestones. But measured through trust. Through effort. Through responsibility accepted one day at a time. Outside, the Nile flows onward through the darkness. Patient and steady. The same river that watched over parents now watches over children. The same river that guided previous generations continues guiding the next. And as another peaceful night settles over the ancient land, the gentle current carries its reflections beneath the stars, while families rest and tomorrow waits quietly beyond the horizon. The Nile continues its endless journey through the night. Far from the great temples and royal palaces that would one day fill history books, the river passes ordinary homes where ordinary people sleep. Its waters slide quietly along the banks, brushing against reeds and mud, carrying coolness into the darkness. The stars above seem almost close enough to touch. Their reflections shimmer across the river's surface, breaking apart whenever a fish disturbs the water below. For a little while, the world feels completely still. The day's labor is over. The fields rest. The workshops stand silent. The ovens have cooled. Families sleep together beneath roofs of mud, brick and wood. Children curl close to parents and siblings. The youngest dream deeply. The older children sleep with the heavy exhaustion that comes from long days of responsibility. Tomorrow will arrive soon enough. But for now, Egypt belongs to the night. The darkness lingers for a few more precious hours. Then slowly, almost without notice, dawn begins to approach. A faint silver line appears along the eastern horizon. The stars begin to fade. The air shifts. Birds awaken. The river catches the first hint of morning light. Another day is beginning. For a child in ancient Egypt, this moment happens thousands of times throughout a lifetime. The same gradual brightening. The same sounds. The same familiar routines. And within those routines, something important takes shape. Habit. Many ancient adults believed good habits mattered more than occasional success. Anyone could perform a task correctly once. Anyone could behave responsibly for a day. What mattered was consistency. Could a child be relied upon every day? Could they complete responsibilities without constant supervision? Could they remember what needed to be done? These questions mattered greatly, because reliability helped households survive. As families awaken, the first tasks begin. Water jars must be checked. Bread dough must be prepared. Animals must be fed. Fires must be lit. Even before sunrise fully arrives, work has already started. Children witness this effort from the earliest years of life. There is no mystery about where food comes from. No mystery about how homes are maintained. The labor is visible. It happens all around them. A small child may watch quietly from a corner. An older child may already be helping. The difference between observation and participation grows smaller each year. Responsibility arrives gradually. One season at a time. One task at a time. One lesson at a time. As sunlight spreads across the landscape, people begin moving through the village. Dust rises beneath sandals. Doors open. Voices drift through the cool morning air. The smell of baking bread spreads from one household to the next. It is a comforting smell. A familiar smell. A smell that children associate with home. Nearby, the Nile reflects the growing light. Boats begin appearing along the water. Fishermen prepare nets. Merchants load supplies. Workers travel toward fields. Children often accompany them. Not because every child performs important labor, but because daily life itself is a form of education. A child learns by being present, by observing, by listening, by participating whenever possible. Ancient Egyptian childhood is filled with these quiet opportunities to learn. A boy walking beside his father notices how experienced farmers examine crops. A girl helping her mother notices how supplies are organized carefully. A young apprentice observes how a skilled craftsperson handles tools. These observations may seem small, yet over time they become powerful. Thousands of tiny lessons slowly build a lifetime of knowledge. The morning remains pleasant for a while. The heat has not yet arrived. Birds move among the palm trees. The river breeze offers relief. Voices carry easily through the village. Children sometimes find moments of freedom during these hours. A brief conversation with friends. A game played before work begins. A chance to explore nearby paths. Yet even these moments exist within a larger framework of responsibility. Everyone understands that tasks await. Work will begin. The day will demand attention. This expectation becomes part of the rhythm of life. As children grow older, adults begin paying attention to something beyond physical ability. They observe judgment. Can the child make sensible decisions? Can the child recognize potential problems? Can the child act responsibly without direct supervision? These questions become increasingly important. A young child might receive clear instructions for every task. An older child may be expected to think independently. This shift marks an important stage of maturity. Not because age alone has changed, but because trust has grown. Trust remains one of the most valuable forms of recognition in the ancient world. A trusted child gains greater freedom, greater responsibility, greater respect. The process happens slowly. Years may pass before adults feel completely confident. But every successful task strengthens that confidence. As the morning progresses, villages and towns become busy. The sounds of labor spread everywhere. Wood being shaped. Clay being molded. Animals being guided. Water being carried. The ancient world hums with activity. Children move through this environment constantly. Some help directly. Others learn through observation. Most do both. For those training in specific trades, childhood can feel especially structured. Imagine a young apprentice in a carpenter's workshop. The smell of freshly cut wood fills the air. Tools hang neatly along the walls. Sunlight enters through a doorway, illuminating floating dust particles. The apprentice watches an experienced craftsperson work. Every movement appears purposeful. Every measurement matters. Mistakes waste valuable materials. The lesson extends beyond woodworking. Attention matters. Patience matters. Care matters. These qualities apply everywhere. The workshop teaches much more than a trade. It teaches character. Elsewhere, another child learns similar lessons in completely different surroundings. Perhaps beside fishing boats. Perhaps within weaving rooms. Perhaps in crowded marketplaces. The details change. The values remain remarkably consistent. Reliability. Patience. Discipline. Respect. These qualities appear again and again throughout childhood. Not because adults enjoy strictness, but because communities depend upon dependable people. By midday, the heat settles heavily across the land. The bright Egyptian sun dominates the sky. Shadows shrink. The air becomes thick and warm. Even simple movement requires effort. Workers slow their pace whenever possible. Children feel the exhaustion too. Sweat gathers. Energy fades. The world seems quieter beneath the intense sunlight. Meals provide a welcome pause. Families and workers gather beneath whatever shade they can find. Bread is shared. Water is shared. Simple foods offer strength for the remaining hours of the day. Conversation drifts through the air. Children listen. Listening remains one of childhood's most important skills. So much knowledge passes from person to person through speech. Advice. Warnings. Stories. Observations. Practical instructions. A child who listens carefully gains access to years of experience. An older worker might describe a flood from decades earlier. A parent might explain how to avoid common mistakes. A grandparent might share memories of life long ago. These stories carry valuable lessons. Not in a formal way. Not like classroom instruction. But through lived experience. The afternoon arrives slowly. Heat still blankets the landscape. Work continues. Children continue learning. Sometimes through success. Sometimes through mistakes. Mistakes are inevitable. A basket may be dropped. An instruction may be forgotten. A task may be completed incorrectly. Adults expect these things to happen. Childhood is a period of learning, after all. Yet mistakes are usually treated as opportunities for correction. The goal is improvement. The goal is growth. The goal is preparing children for future responsibilities. One of the most important lessons concerns perseverance. Trying again after failure. Ancient life rarely allows people to give up simply because something is difficult. Fields still require tending. Boats still require maintenance. Food still requires preparation. Children observe adults facing challenges every day. Tools break. Weather changes. Unexpected problems appear. Yet work continues. This persistence becomes part of childhood education. Not through speeches. Through example. As afternoon slowly gives way to evening, the landscape begins to change. The sunlight softens. The air cools. Long shadows stretch across roads and fields. Relief arrives gradually. Workers begin making their way home. Children walk beside them. The village grows livelier. Cooking fires appear. The smell of fresh bread returns. Voices rise gently through the evening air. After the demands of the day, these moments feel comforting. Families gather together. Meals are prepared. Stories are exchanged. Advice is offered. Children sit among adults, absorbing far more than anyone realizes. A simple conversation may remain in memory for years. A small piece of guidance may shape future decisions. Wisdom often travels quietly from one generation to the next. The stars begin appearing overhead. One by one. The same stars that watched over previous generations. The same stars that will watch over future generations. Darkness settles across the Nile Valley once more. The river reflects scattered points of light. Palm trees sway gently in the evening breeze. The village gradually grows quiet. Children prepare for sleep. Their bodies are tired. Their minds are full of impressions gathered throughout the day. Many lessons remain invisible. No one records them. No one announces them. Yet they continue shaping character all the same. The habit of rising early. The habit of completing tasks. The habit of listening carefully. The habit of helping others. These habits slowly become part of who a person is. And so another day passes in ancient Egypt. Another day measured not by excitement or adventure, but by steady growth, by responsibility, by discipline practiced in countless ordinary moments. Outside, the Nile continues flowing beneath the stars. Patient, silent, enduring. And as families drift into sleep beside the riverbanks, childhood moves forward once again, one quiet day at a time, guided by routine, trust, and the gentle rhythms of the ancient world. Night settles softly across the Nile Valley. The river glides through the darkness as though it has all the time in the world. Moonlight touches the water in scattered silver patches. Reeds along the shoreline bend gently whenever a breeze drifts through them. Far beyond the fertile fields, the desert rests beneath a blanket of stars. The heat of the day has faded. Stone walls release the warmth they stored beneath the sun. Palm trees stand quietly against the sky. The sounds of labor have disappeared. No tools strike wood. No merchants call from market stalls. No farmers guide animals through fields. For a few peaceful hours, the ancient world grows still. Inside a modest mud brick home, a family sleeps. The room is simple. A few woven baskets sit near the wall. Clay jars stand neatly arranged in a corner. A small oil lamp has long since burned low. Parents rest after a day of work. Children sleep beside them. The youngest child shifts occasionally in sleep. An older brother lies motionless, exhausted from hours spent helping in the fields. Tomorrow will arrive quickly. Yet for now there is only darkness, quiet air, and the distant sound of the river. In ancient Egypt, sleep itself is precious. Days begin early. Labor is demanding. Rest allows tired bodies to recover. Children understand this naturally. By nightfall, exhaustion often arrives without invitation. The body simply grows heavy. Eyes close. Thoughts slow. The rhythm repeats day after day. As midnight passes, the stars slowly continue their journey across the sky. Generations of children have fallen asleep beneath these same constellations. Thousands of years pass. Empires rise and fade. Yet the simple experience of childhood remains familiar. Learning, growing, helping, listening, becoming. Eventually, the first hints of dawn appear once again. The darkness softens. The stars retreat. The Nile changes color as pale light spreads across its surface. Birds awaken. A cool breeze moves over the water. The village begins another day. A mother wakes first. She sits quietly for a moment. Around her, everyone still sleeps. The house feels peaceful. Outside, the world remains mostly silent. Soon she begins preparing the morning meal. Her movements are practiced. She does not need to think about every step. Years of repetition guide her hands. Children witness this kind of mastery often. A task performed thousands of times becomes smooth and effortless. Young minds notice these things. They see the confidence that experience creates. They learn that skill comes through practice. Not through wishing. Not through rushing. But through patience. As the sky brightens, children begin waking one by one. Some sit quietly. Others stretch and rub their eyes. The youngest may still cling to sleep for a little longer. Soon enough, everyone is moving. The day has started. Outside, the village grows busier. Cooking fires send thin streams of smoke into the morning air. Neighbors greet one another. Animals begin making noise. Sandals scrape softly across dusty paths. The familiar smell of baking bread drifts through the settlement. For children, these sights and sounds create a sense of continuity. Life feels predictable. The same routines return again and again. This predictability becomes one of childhood's greatest teachers. Children learn what is expected because expectations rarely change. Responsibilities become familiar. Habits become strong. Discipline grows quietly from repetition. As families finish their morning meal, work begins. Some head toward fields. Others travel toward workshops. Others remain within the household, where countless tasks await. Every place contains opportunities for learning. Every place contains responsibilities. A young child helping within the home may spend the morning carrying small items from one room to another. The task seems simple. Perhaps even unimportant. Yet through such tasks children learn attentiveness. Objects must be handled carefully. Instructions must be remembered. Responsibilities must be completed before moving on to something else. The lesson is larger than the task itself. Meanwhile, older children often receive more complicated duties. They may supervise younger siblings. They may assist with food preparation. They may help manage animals. They may accompany adults on errands. Each responsibility reflects growing trust. Adults do not simply assign important tasks without reason. Trust must be earned. The process can take years. A child who consistently demonstrates reliability slowly gains greater independence. The change happens so gradually that it is often difficult to notice. One day a child realizes they are being trusted with responsibilities that once belonged only to adults. The transition feels natural because it has unfolded slowly. As morning continues, sunlight spreads across the fields. The fertile land near the Nile begins to glow beneath the rising sun. Farmers move steadily through rows of crops. Children work nearby. The air still feels pleasant. Birds fly overhead. Water channels reflect the brightening sky. This part of the day often feels hopeful. The hardest heat has not yet arrived. Energy remains strong. Tasks seem manageable. Children learn another important lesson during these hours. Observation. Many responsibilities cannot be mastered immediately. Before doing comes watching. Before leading comes following. Before teaching comes learning. A child who observes carefully gathers valuable knowledge. How tools are used. How crops are examined. How repairs are performed. How problems are solved. The ancient world rewards those who pay attention. Knowledge accumulates quietly. One observation at a time. One season at a time. Years later, a grown adult may perform a task almost automatically without realizing how much of that knowledge began through simple observation during childhood. The morning gradually moves toward midday. The sun climbs higher. The air becomes warmer. Dust rises beneath countless feet. Workers continue their labor. Children continue helping. In workshops, similar lessons unfold. A young apprentice watches a skilled craftsperson shape wood or clay. The process may appear simple from a distance. Yet every movement reflects years of experience. The apprentice learns patience. Rushing leads to mistakes. Carelessness damages materials. Attention produces better results. These lessons apply far beyond the workshop walls. They become lessons for life itself. Ancient Egyptian society values steadiness. People admire those who can be counted upon. Children hear praise for reliable individuals. They hear criticism of careless ones. Over time, these messages shape behavior. Not through fear, but through understanding. A dependable person strengthens the family. A dependable person strengthens the community. By midday, the familiar heat settles across the land. The air grows heavy. Shadows shrink beneath the bright sun. Workers seek moments of shade whenever possible. Children welcome opportunities to rest. Meals are shared. Water is passed around. Conversation becomes quieter. The heat encourages stillness. These moments often create opportunities for stories. Older people share memories. Parents offer advice. Workers discuss past experiences. Children listen closely. Stories serve many purposes. They entertain. They preserve memory. They teach lessons. A tale about a careless worker may contain a warning. A story about perseverance may encourage patience. A memory of hardship may inspire gratitude. Children absorb these lessons naturally. They become part of a growing understanding of the world. The afternoon arrives slowly. The heat remains strong. Tasks continue. Fatigue begins to appear. This is when discipline becomes especially important. Completing responsibilities while energetic is one thing. Completing them while tired is another. Ancient childhood often includes learning how to continue despite discomfort. The lesson appears everywhere. Farmers continue working beneath the sun. Mothers continue preparing food despite exhaustion. Craftspeople continue shaping materials after long hours. Children witness this perseverance constantly. They learn through example. The lesson settles deeply into their understanding of adulthood. As the day gradually approaches evening, the atmosphere changes once more. The sunlight softens. Golden colors spread across the landscape. The worst heat begins to disappear. A breeze drifts across the river. Workers start returning home. Children walk beside them. Their feet feel tired. Their shoulders feel heavy. Yet there is satisfaction in the familiar rhythm. Tasks have been completed. Responsibilities have been met. The village becomes lively again. Cooking fires appear. The smell of bread fills the air. Voices rise from courtyards and doorways. Families gather together. Evening brings a different kind of learning. Work slows. Conversation increases. Children spend time listening to adults discuss daily life. Practical matters. Family concerns. Community events. Advice. Plans. Through these conversations, children gain a deeper understanding of the world around them. They learn that adulthood involves more than physical labor. It also involves judgment, planning, responsibility toward others. As darkness returns, stars begin appearing overhead. The Nile reflects their light. Palm trees sway gently beside the river. The village gradually becomes quiet. One family settles into sleep. Then another. Then another. The sounds of the day fade away. Children close their eyes. The lessons of the day remain with them. Some lessons are obvious. Others are almost invisible. Yet all of them contribute to the gradual transformation taking place. A little more understanding. A little more responsibility. A little more trust. Day after day. Year after year. Outside, the Nile continues flowing beneath the night sky. Patient and steady. Just as it has for countless generations. And as another peaceful night settles across ancient Egypt, childhood moves forward once more, carried gently by routine, discipline, family, and the quiet rhythm of life beside the river. The Nile moves through the darkness with a calm certainty. Its waters do not hurry. They never seem rushed. Night after night, year after year, century after century, the river follows its familiar path through the heart of Egypt. Moonlight glides across the surface. Small ripples drift outward whenever fish rise briefly from below. Along the shore, clusters of reeds whisper softly whenever the wind passes through them. The villages sleep. The towns sleep. The fields rest beneath the stars. Only the river remains awake. Inside a modest home near the edge of a farming settlement, a family lies sleeping together. The room is warm but comfortable. The thick mud brick walls have protected the family from the heat of the previous day. Clay jars stand near the entrance. Woven baskets rest neatly beside them. A few simple tools lean against the wall, waiting for the next sunrise. Children sleep soundly. Their hands still carry traces of the day's work. A little dust remains on their sandals. The exhaustion of labor has brought deep rest. Tomorrow will come soon enough. But for now, there is peace. For many children in ancient Egypt, one of the most important lessons was not a skill or a trade. It was learning how to belong. Belonging to a family. Belonging to a household. Belonging to a community. Every person occupied a place within a larger network of responsibilities. Children slowly discovered where they fit within that network. The process began almost from birth. The youngest children received care. As they grew older, they gradually began contributing care themselves. A child who once needed help carrying water might later help a younger sibling do the same. A child who once followed instructions might eventually give instructions. Responsibility often moved in a circle. Those who received guidance eventually became guides. Those who depended upon others eventually became dependable themselves. The transformation happened slowly. So slowly that few people noticed it while it was occurring. Outside, the stars continue their journey across the sky. The hours pass quietly. Then, little by little, dawn approaches. The eastern horizon begins to glow. The darkness softens. Birds awaken among the palm trees. The Nile reflects pale shades of silver and blue. Morning is returning. Within the home, movement begins. A parent wakes. Then another. Soon older children begin stirring from sleep. The familiar routine unfolds once again. The floor feels cool beneath bare feet. A clay lamp flickers briefly before daylight becomes strong enough to replace it. Someone prepares grain. Someone checks water jars. Someone begins shaping dough. The smell of bread slowly spreads through the room. Outside, neighboring households are doing exactly the same thing. Across the village, hundreds of small routines unfold together. The result is a quiet rhythm that connects everyone. Children grow up inside this rhythm. They come to understand it almost instinctively. The day begins. Tasks begin. Life begins again. As the morning brightens, people step outside. The village pathways fill with movement. Sandals leave marks in the dust. Animals are fed. Tools are gathered. Voices drift through the cool air. Children join the activity. Some carry small items. Some accompany older family members. Some remain close to home, helping with household responsibilities. Every child experiences these routines differently. Yet discipline remains a common thread connecting them all. Discipline does not always appear as punishment. Often it appears as consistency. Doing what needs to be done. Remembering responsibilities. Following through on commitments. These habits form gradually. A child learns them through repetition. One day at a time. One season at a time. Imagine a young boy accompanying his grandfather toward the river. The old man walks slowly. Years of labor have left their mark on his body. His movements are measured. Careful. Patient. The boy walks beside him. As they travel, the grandfather speaks occasionally. Not constantly. Just enough. A remark about the weather. A memory about a flood many years earlier. A simple observation about the river. The boy listens. These conversations may seem ordinary. Yet they carry knowledge gathered across a lifetime. Children often receive wisdom this way. Not through formal instruction, but through countless small conversations woven into daily life. The river itself teaches lessons. Its annual floods remind people that some things cannot be controlled. Its dependable return teaches patience. Its life-giving water teaches gratitude. Children absorb these lessons simply by living beside it. The Nile becomes part of their understanding of the world. As morning continues, workers move toward fields. The fertile land near the river stretches outward in dark bands of rich soil. Farmers examine crops. Water channels glisten beneath the sunlight. Children help wherever they can. Some carry baskets. Some fetch supplies. Some simply observe. Observation remains one of childhood's most powerful forms of education. Many important skills begin with watching. A child notices how an experienced worker handles tools. How a parent organizes tasks. How a neighbor solves a problem. These observations accumulate over years. Eventually they become knowledge. The process is quiet, almost invisible, yet remarkably effective. The sun climbs steadily. The coolness of morning fades. Heat begins spreading across the landscape. Dust rises beneath busy feet. The village and fields fill with activity. Children move among adults, learning not only practical skills but social ones as well. Respect is important. Courtesy is important. Knowing when to speak and when to listen is important. These lessons shape daily interactions. A child learns how to greet elders, how to assist neighbors, how to behave during community gatherings. Such behaviors may seem simple, yet they help maintain harmony within a closely connected society. Ancient communities depend heavily upon cooperation. People know one another well. Reputations matter. Reliability matters. Children quickly become aware of this reality. Their actions affect how others see them. Their habits influence the trust they receive. By midday, the heat grows intense. The bright Egyptian sun dominates the sky. Even the air feels heavy. Workers seek shade. Children welcome the chance to rest. Meals are shared. Bread remains at the center of daily life. Its familiar smell accompanies countless memories. Children grow up watching bread prepared almost every day. The process becomes one of the most familiar sights of childhood. Grain, flour, dough, fire, bread. A simple sequence repeated across generations. These daily routines teach patience in subtle ways. Important things often take time. Food takes time. Crops take time. Skills take time. Trust takes time. Nothing meaningful arrives instantly. The afternoon stretches onward. Heat lingers stubbornly across the land. Tasks continue. Fatigue becomes noticeable. This is often where discipline reveals itself most clearly. Not during easy moments, but during difficult ones. Continuing despite tiredness. Continuing despite heat. Continuing despite boredom. Ancient childhood includes many opportunities to practice this kind of endurance. A child helping in a workshop may spend hours repeating the same movement. A child working near the fields may perform the same task again and again. Repetition can feel ordinary. Yet repetition shapes character. It teaches patience. It builds skill. It develops reliability. These qualities become highly valued throughout adulthood. As evening approaches, relief slowly arrives. The sunlight softens. The air cools. Shadows lengthen across roads and fields. Workers begin returning home. The mood changes. The hardest part of the day has passed. Children walk alongside family members. Conversations become more relaxed. The smell of cooking fires fills the air. The village feels alive again. Families gather together. Meals are prepared. Stories are shared. These evening hours often provide a sense of comfort and belonging. A child sits among familiar faces. Parents, siblings, grandparents, neighbors. The same voices return night after night. The same stories. The same laughter. The same advice. These moments create stability. And stability helps children understand who they are. The stars begin appearing once more. One by one. The sky darkens. The Nile reflects scattered points of light. Palm leaves rustle softly in the evening breeze. The sounds of work fade into silence. Families prepare for sleep. Children settle onto mats. Their bodies feel heavy from another long day. Yet something has changed. Even if only slightly. Another lesson has been learned. Another responsibility has been practiced. Another piece of trust has been earned. The growth is gradual. Almost impossible to see from one day to the next. Yet year after year, it continues. Outside, the Nile flows onward through the darkness. Patient. Steady. Unchanging. And beneath the ancient stars, another night settles gently across Egypt, while childhood continues its slow and quiet journey toward adulthood, guided by routine, discipline, family, and the enduring rhythm of life beside the river. The night deepens over the Nile. The river glides silently between dark riverbanks, carrying moonlight across its surface like scattered pieces of silver. The villages along its edge have grown quiet. Cooking fires have burned low. Market stalls stand empty. Workshops rest in darkness after another long day of labor. Only a few sounds remain. The gentle movement of water. The distant call of a night bird. The rustling of palm leaves high above the ground. The air feels soft now. The heavy heat of the day has finally faded. For a few hours, Egypt breathes slowly. Inside a small home near the river, a family sleeps. Parents rest after many hours of work. Children lie nearby beneath simple coverings. The youngest child dreams peacefully. An older sister turns slightly in her sleep, exhausted from helping throughout the day. Tomorrow will bring more responsibilities. More lessons. More routines. Yet for now, there is only rest. In the ancient world, childhood often unfolds through seasons rather than years. People certainly know that children grow older. They see it in changing faces and growing bodies. But what matters most is often something else. What can the child do? What responsibilities can the child handle? How much trust has been earned? These questions shape daily life. A child who proves dependable gains greater responsibilities. A child who struggles may continue learning a little longer. Growth is measured through action, through behavior, through discipline. And because of this, every ordinary day carries importance. Every completed task matters. Every lesson remembered matters. Every responsibility accepted matters. Outside, the stars slowly wheel across the sky. The hours pass quietly. The river continues its patient journey. Then, little by little, dawn begins to arrive. The darkness lightens. The stars fade. The horizon glows with soft shades of gold and pale blue. Birds awaken among the reeds. The Nile reflects the changing sky. Another day is beginning. Across villages and towns, families stir from sleep. The familiar rhythm returns. A mother rises. A father sits up. Older children begin moving. Soon the room fills with quiet activity. Water is poured. Grain is prepared. Bread dough is shaped. The smell of baking bread slowly fills the air. Children grow up surrounded by these routines. The sights become familiar. The sounds become familiar. The smells become familiar. Years later, many will remember these details more clearly than any specific lesson. The warmth of morning bread. The sound of sandals against packed earth. The sight of sunlight entering through a doorway. These simple experiences become part of childhood itself. Outside, the village awakens. Neighbors greet one another. Animals begin their daily routines. Tools are gathered. Workers prepare for the day ahead. Children join the flow of activity. Some remain near home. Others travel toward fields, workshops, or the river. Each place offers its own lessons. Each place demands attention. The ancient world rewards those who notice details. Imagine a young girl helping her grandmother organize household supplies. The task seems ordinary. Clay jars are checked. Food is stored carefully. Baskets are arranged neatly. Nothing appears especially important. Yet hidden within these actions are valuable lessons. Organization prevents waste. Care protects resources. Attention avoids problems. The girl may not think about these ideas directly. She simply learns them through experience. One day they become habits. And habits become character. Elsewhere, a boy accompanies fishermen to the riverbank. The morning air feels cool. Mist hovers lightly above the water. Boats rock gently near the shore. The fishermen inspect nets before beginning their work. The boy watches closely. He notices how damaged sections are repaired, how equipment is maintained, how experienced workers prepare before starting. Preparation itself becomes a lesson. The best results often begin long before the actual work starts. Children learn this repeatedly. Whether in fields, workshops, kitchens, or boats, careful preparation matters. The morning advances. The sun rises higher. The village becomes busier. Dust drifts through the air. Voices carry across open spaces. The smell of bread gradually gives way to the smells of labor. Fresh cut reeds. Wet clay. Wood shavings. River water. The sense of daily life. Children move through this world constantly, learning not only practical skills but expectations. How to behave. How to contribute. How to cooperate. Ancient communities depend heavily upon cooperation. Few tasks are completed entirely alone. Families work together. Neighbors assist one another. Tradespeople rely upon customers. Farmers rely upon laborers. Everyone depends upon someone. Children grow up seeing this interconnectedness. They learn that their actions affect others. Responsibility extends beyond personal needs. This lesson becomes increasingly important as childhood progresses. The older a child becomes, the more others begin relying upon them. A younger child may receive assistance. An older child may be expected to provide it. The transition happens gradually, almost invisibly. Yet it changes everything. As the sun climbs toward midday, the heat begins to spread across the landscape. Shadows shorten. The air grows warmer. Workers continue their tasks despite discomfort. Children observe this perseverance every day. Adults rarely stop simply because conditions are unpleasant. Responsibilities remain. Work continues. This example teaches powerful lessons. Not through words. Through action. A child sees a parent continue working despite fatigue. A grandparent continue helping despite age. A craftsperson continue practicing despite difficulty. Such examples leave lasting impressions. Children often learn most deeply from what they witness. By midday, the heat becomes intense. The world slows. People seek shade whenever possible. Animals rest. Even conversations become quieter beneath the heavy sun. Meals provide welcome relief. Families and workers gather together. Bread is shared. Water is shared. Simple foods restore energy. The atmosphere becomes calm. For a little while, labor pauses. These moments often create opportunities for observation. Children listen to adult conversations. Discussions about crops, repairs, weather, family concerns, plans for future work. At first, much of the conversation may seem unimportant. Yet over time children begin understanding more and more. The topics that once sounded mysterious become familiar. The responsibilities that once seemed distant become personal. This gradual understanding marks an important stage of growing up. The world becomes larger, more complex, more connected. The afternoon arrives. Heat still blankets the land. Tasks resume. Fatigue begins settling into muscles. Children continue helping. Some carry supplies. Some assist with repairs. Some watch younger siblings. Others learn trade skills through repeated practice. Repetition appears everywhere. The same tasks. The same movements. The same routines. Again and again. At first, repetition can feel boring. Yet it serves an important purpose. Skill grows through repetition. Confidence grows through repetition. Discipline grows through repetition. The ancient world understands this deeply. Mastery comes slowly. Patiently. One day at a time. As afternoon gradually softens into evening, the atmosphere changes once more. The bright sunlight becomes golden. Long shadows stretch across roads and fields. A breeze moves through the reeds near the river. Workers begin returning home. Children walk beside them. The hardest hours have passed. Relief spreads through the community. Cooking fires appear throughout the village. Smoke drifts upward into the evening sky. The smell of fresh bread returns once more. Warm. Familiar. Comforting. Families gather together. Meals are shared. Stories are exchanged. Children sit nearby, listening closely. The evening often becomes a classroom without walls. A parent may tell a story about a difficult season many years earlier. A grandparent may describe how life was different during childhood. A neighbor may offer advice based upon experience. Children absorb these stories carefully. They contain lessons hidden within memory. Lessons about patience. About honesty. About perseverance. About responsibility. The stars begin appearing overhead. The sky darkens. The village grows quieter. One household settles into sleep. Then another. Then another. The sounds of daily life gradually fade away. Children lie down beside family members. Their bodies feel tired. Their minds hold countless impressions gathered throughout the day. Most of those impressions seem small. A conversation overheard. A task completed. A mistake corrected. A story remembered. Yet these small moments continue shaping childhood. Little by little. Day after day. Season after season. Outside, the Nile flows steadily through the darkness. The same river watched over their parents. The same river watched over their grandparents. The same river now watches over them. And beneath the endless stars of ancient Egypt, another peaceful night settles across the riverbanks, while childhood continues its slow unfolding, measured not by years alone, but by trust earned, responsibilities accepted, and the quiet discipline woven into everyday life. The Nile drifts through the darkness beneath a sky full of stars. Its waters move quietly past sleeping villages and silent fields. Moonlight settles across the river like a pale blanket, broken only by the occasional ripple from a fish rising near the surface. Along the banks, reeds sway softly in the night breeze. Palm trees stand motionless, their shadows stretching across the earth. The world feels calm. The heat of the day has disappeared. The sounds of labor have faded. Families rest behind mud brick walls that hold the coolness of the night. Children sleep deeply after another long day of learning and responsibility. For a few peaceful hours, the ancient land belongs to silence. Inside one small home, a young boy sleeps beside his brothers. His hands are rougher than they were a year ago. Not because he is fully grown. Not because he is an adult. But because responsibility has already begun shaping him. Each season has brought new expectations. A few more tasks. A little more trust. A little more independence. The changes are small when viewed one day at a time. Yet over many years they become impossible to miss. This is how childhood unfolds beside the Nile. Not through sudden transformations, but through thousands of ordinary moments quietly gathered together. Outside, the stars continue their slow journey across the sky. The night passes gently. Then dawn begins to arrive once more. The eastern horizon grows pale. The darkness softens. The first birds begin to call from the trees. A cool breeze moves across the river. The Nile reflects the changing colors of the sky. Morning is returning. Across Egypt, families begin waking. A mother rises from her sleeping mat. She moves quietly so as not to disturb the youngest child. Nearby, clay jars wait to be checked. Grain waits to be prepared. The day already contains countless tasks. Soon other family members awaken. The room slowly fills with movement. Children sit up and rub sleep from their eyes. Parents exchange quiet words. Someone steps outside. Someone lights a small flame. Someone begins preparing dough. The familiar rhythm begins again. Children know this rhythm well. It has surrounded them since infancy. Morning follows night. Work follows morning. Rest follows work. The pattern repeats endlessly. And because it repeats endlessly, it becomes one of childhood's most powerful teachers. The day does not require constant reminders. Children know what comes next. Responsibilities become woven into the structure of life itself. Outside, sunlight spreads gradually across the village. The smell of baking bread drifts through the cool air. Doors open. Voices emerge. Sandals leave tracks in dusty pathways. Animals begin stirring. The settlement awakens together. Children step into the morning alongside everyone else. Some remain close to home. Others accompany family members toward fields or workshops. Each path offers lessons. Each path requires attention. A child helping within the household may spend the morning learning about preparation. Preparation appears everywhere in ancient life. Water must be stored before it is needed. Food must be prepared before hunger arrives. Tools must be repaired before they break completely. Successful households rarely wait until the last moment. Children learn this gradually. They watch adults think ahead. Plan ahead. Prepare ahead. Over time, they begin doing the same. These lessons rarely arrive through formal instruction. They emerge through observation and participation. A mother carefully stores grain. A father repairs a tool before it fails. A grandparent organizes supplies for future use. Children watch. They help. Eventually they imitate. One ordinary action becomes another piece of growing maturity. Near the river, fishermen prepare their boats. The morning light glitters on the water. Nets are examined carefully. Knots are checked. Equipment is organized. Children observing these preparations learn something important. Good work often begins long before the work itself. The most experienced adults rarely rush. They move deliberately. Patiently. They know that preparation saves effort later. This lesson appears again and again throughout Egyptian life. Patience often proves more valuable than speed. As the morning continues, fields fill with activity. Farmers move steadily through rows of crops. Water channels sparkle beneath the sun. The fertile land near the Nile feels alive. Children assist wherever possible. Some carry baskets. Some gather materials. Some simply watch older workers perform tasks they hope to master one day. Observation remains a central part of childhood. Before doing comes watching. Before leading comes following. Before teaching comes learning. A child who pays close attention gains knowledge long before responsibility officially arrives. The process unfolds slowly, year after year, without hurry, without ceremony. The sun climbs higher. The coolness of dawn gradually disappears. Heat begins settling across the land. Dust rises from roads and fields. The sounds of labor fill the air. Wood being shaped. Stone being moved. Animals being guided. Voices calling instructions. Children hear these sounds every day. Together they form the soundtrack of childhood. A world built upon effort. A world sustained through cooperation. Ancient communities depend heavily upon dependable people. This truth becomes increasingly clear as children grow older. A household functions because people fulfill their responsibilities. A field produces crops because people perform necessary work. A workshop succeeds because people complete tasks carefully. Children witness this interconnectedness constantly. They learn that individual actions affect others. A forgotten task creates extra work. A completed task helps everyone. The lesson is simple, yet powerful. Responsibility is never entirely personal. It belongs to the community as well. By midday, the heat becomes intense. The air feels heavy. The bright sun dominates the sky. Workers search for shade whenever possible. Children welcome opportunities to rest. Meals are shared quietly. Bread remains central to daily life. Its smell appears again and again throughout childhood memories. Fresh bread in the morning. Fresh bread in the evening. The familiar scent drifting through homes and courtyards. Simple comforts carry great importance in the ancient world. A cool drink of water. A shady place to sit. A meal shared with family. Children learn to appreciate these things because they experience the labor required to create them. Nothing arrives effortlessly. Every comfort has a story behind it. Every comfort reflects someone's work. As the afternoon begins, the pace slows beneath the heat. Yet responsibilities continue. Children learn another important lesson during these hours. Patience with routine. Many tasks are repetitive. The same fields. The same tools. The same procedures. Day after day. Season after season. At times, the repetition may feel endless. Yet repetition builds skill. A child who performs a task hundreds of times eventually performs it well. Competence grows quietly, almost invisibly, until one day others begin relying upon it. Trust follows competence. Responsibility follows trust. The cycle continues. Across Egypt, children experience this pattern in countless forms. A young weaver learns thread by thread. A young fisherman learns knot by knot. A young farmer learns season by season. A young scribe learns symbol by symbol. The details differ. The process remains remarkably similar. Growth through repetition. Growth through discipline. Growth through time. Eventually the afternoon begins to soften. The sunlight changes. Golden tones spread across the landscape. A breeze moves gently through the reeds. Workers start making their way home. Children walk beside them. The day's labor has left everyone tired. Yet there is comfort in completion. Tasks have been finished. Responsibilities have been met. The village slowly comes alive with evening activity. Cooking fires appear. Smoke rises into the sky. The smell of bread fills the air once more. Neighbors exchange greetings. Families gather together. The atmosphere feels warm and familiar. Children often remember evenings more clearly than any other part of the day. The heat has faded. Work has slowed. People have time to talk. Stories flow naturally. Advice passes quietly from one generation to the next. A grandfather recalls a difficult harvest. A mother explains why patience matters. A father describes a mistake he once made and what it taught him. Children listen. Sometimes silently. Sometimes with questions. The lessons settle gently into memory. Not because anyone forces them, but because stories have a way of staying with us. Darkness gradually returns. The stars appear overhead. The Nile reflects scattered points of light. The sounds of the village begin fading. One household grows quiet. Then another. Then another. Children settle down to sleep. Their bodies feel heavy. Their minds drift toward dreams. Another day has passed. Another collection of lessons has been added to childhood. Small lessons. Ordinary lessons. Yet together they continue shaping the future. Outside, the Nile flows onward beneath the stars. Steady. Patient. Unhurried. Just as it has for countless generations. And as another peaceful night settles across ancient Egypt, children sleep beside the river, slowly growing into the responsibilities that await them, one dawn, one task, and one quiet lesson at a time. The Nile moves quietly through the darkness. Its waters carry reflections of stars that seem endless above the sleeping land. Along the riverbanks, the reeds whisper softly whenever the night breeze passes through them. Palm trees stand still beneath the moonlight. Beyond the fertile fields, the desert stretches into silence. The villages rest. The workshops rest. The fields rest. Even the animals have settled into sleep. For a few gentle hours, the ancient world becomes peaceful and still. Inside a modest home built from mud brick, a family sleeps close together. The room is simple but familiar. Clay jars stand against one wall. Woven baskets sit neatly arranged nearby. A few tools rest where they were placed at the end of the day. The youngest child sleeps deeply. An older sister turns slightly, exhausted from helping her mother throughout the afternoon. A brother sleeps soundly after spending the day near the river. Tomorrow will arrive soon. There will be bread to prepare, water to carry, tasks to complete, lessons to learn. But for now, there is only rest. As the night slowly passes, another quiet part of childhood unfolds. Dreams. No one knows exactly what ancient children dreamed about. Yet it is easy to imagine. Perhaps they dreamed of the river. Of fishing boats gliding across bright water. Of fields stretching beneath the sun. Of family gatherings in the evening. Of stories told beside cooking fires. The same sights that filled their waking lives likely followed them into sleep. Because childhood in ancient Egypt was deeply connected to daily experience. The world around children shaped almost everything they knew. Eventually the eastern sky begins to brighten. The stars fade one by one. The darkness softens. The Nile reflects pale streaks of morning light. Birds awaken among the reeds. A cool breeze moves across the water. The day begins once more. Across the Nile Valley, countless families rise from sleep. The rhythm repeats itself. Not exactly the same every day. Yet familiar enough to feel comforting. A mother wakes first. A father follows. Older children begin stirring. Soon the household fills with quiet movement. The smell of grain. The sound of water being poured. The soft glow of early morning light entering through a doorway. Children grow up surrounded by these sensations. Years later, such memories may remain vivid. The simple details often become the strongest memories of all. Outside, the village slowly comes alive. Footsteps appear on dusty paths. Neighbors greet one another. Donkeys shift and move. The first cooking fires send thin trails of smoke into the brightening sky. The smell of fresh bread spreads through the settlement. Warm. Comforting. Familiar. Children step into the day alongside everyone else. They are not separate from the life of the community. They are part of it. Even when very young. Even when their responsibilities remain small. This sense of belonging shapes childhood from the very beginning. Children understand that they are members of something larger than themselves. A family. A household. A village. A community. Each person has a place. Each person contributes. The exact contribution changes with age and ability. But the expectation remains. As children grow, they gradually learn how their efforts support others. One child may help care for younger siblings. Another may assist with food preparation. Another may help carry supplies. The tasks differ. The lesson remains the same. Responsibility connects people together.